We're all well aware of LEGO making Dungeons & Dragons, but what I didn't know until recently is that Dungeons & Dragons took a stab at making LEGO 10 years earlier. I might go into a full history later, but here's a quick rundown of the Hasbro construction toy Kre-O. Now, what I and probably most other people knew Kre-O for was Transformers fake LEGO. Hasbro really pushed Transformers the most with this brand, but it did have a few other licenses. In 2013, they made a Toys R Us exclusive line for G.I. Joe as well as a line for Star Trek. Then in 2014, they put out a Dungeons & Dragons theme. It seems in 2015 they toned down the brand and it was officially offline in 2017. Now, with the D&D line being their last, it kind of makes sense why I didn't notice these sets and blind bags at the time. It doesn't seem they put too much effort into marketing these toys at this point. I also wasn't paying a lot of attention to things like Kre-O. I've always been more of a LEGO purist with a hint of Mega Block thrown in there. Anyway, while I was working on another thing for my LEGO D&D stuff, I discovered this strange line of toys. This theme included some full sets, battle packs, and blind bags. So naturally, I got one to open on this video. This is a really weird thing in D&D history, so I may get a few of the larger sets or more blind bags to review on the channel, but for now, let's just dive into this one blind bag. Alright, it looks like we got the Orc X-Men. There also seems to be quite a few figures in this blind bag series as well. Some of these are pretty cool. I like the Beastmaster Orc. I think that little wolf is pretty neat. They did also do a second series of these blind bags. Seems the main intention for these were to build up armies for the good guys and bad guys with a couple of more unique figures sprinkled in there. I like the variety and especially how there are a bunch of different orc figures that complement each other. I don't think LEGO would ever do something like this in one CMF series. They do a pretty good job of spreading out pieces for customization as long as you're paying attention to all the stuff they're doing and don't get left behind on some of them. Now let's look at this figure in particular. I think my favorite part is the helmet. It's got a pretty interesting shape to it. I like the color. I think it works well. Something I'm not as big of a fan of is the printing. That being said, the printing on the torso and legs is fine. It's a little bit generic, but overall passable. I do like the leather armor look. The main issue is the face printing. It's really over-detailed. The red eyes are a nice touch, but there's a lot going on here, and it can be a little bit difficult to make out the rest of the face. He's got thick lines around the mouth. His teeth are okay, but the mouth itself fills off. He's got printing for his nose and a nose ring that took me a minute to figure out what it was. He just doesn't look great from close-up or further away. As much as I like the helmet, it does make the problem worse. It blocks off those red eyes a little bit and frames the worst portion of the face. Maybe if the mouth was more covered and the eyes were more highlighted, I would like it a lot better. This problem is not unique to this figure or even this theme. One of the biggest problems with Kre-O in general is the face printing. Although I do like some of the faces, I think the Transformers line does the best, keeping it simpler. However, overall, I think they tended to over-design the printing on these figures. His accessories are fine, just a couple of axe pieces. They seem to not quite be clones of LEGO pieces, but pretty close. The bigger axe seems to be pretty much the same mold as the clip-on axe piece, but in a larger scale. He also comes with a base piece that's fine, it's just a green circle. I think they included this to make it more like a D&D figure. Maybe it's for the game itself that they created for this line. There's a regular brick piece with Kre-O molded and printed on the side. I kind of like it, I think it's a neat touch. If LEGO did this exact same thing, I'd be super excited about that unique piece. And the last thing this figure came with is a trading card. I'm usually a sucker for trading cards. This one, however, seems lacking. The back has a nice picture of the bad guy shield and Dungeons & Dragons. I think the Kre-O logo kind of sticks out, but I think it could work better if the defunct website wasn't printed beneath it. On the other side is just a picture of the orc, the number 2, his name in several languages, and some symbols next to some numbers, presumably for the game. It's kind of cool, but I think it could look a lot better with some more interesting art. And the last thing I want to say about this figure is another positive. The Kreons, as the figures are called, are really well articulated, so you can have a bit more dynamic poses than regular LEGO figures. It feels like these Kreons are kind of a mix between LEGO and Mega Block minifigures. So how well does this hold up to the LEGO D&D CMF figures? It doesn't really. I mean, just look at him compared to Strahd or any of the other figures that came in that line. Or even compare him to one of the more recent LEGO Orcs. I know it's a lot newer and maybe isn't fair to compare it, but even if we're talking about this time period of 2013-2014, the LEGO Lord of the Rings and Hobbit Orcs are really substantially better than this guy. The printing is so much cleaner and nicer, even though it is a little bit complex. Even the earlier fantasy era orcs look way better than this guy. I really feel like this figure and the Kreon figures in general are just almost really cool. Kre-O really suffered from trying so hard to be like Lego, and I particularly never got on board. On top of that, this figure has not convinced me that the construction toy brand was worth keeping around. At the same time, though, I am drawn to these weirder things. Hasbro making fake D&D Lego definitely qualifies. It's a strange oddity in building block history, and I hope you enjoyed taking a quick look at it with me. I can't imagine most people will want me to, but I may go on a deeper dive in Kre-O in general. I do actually like the Transformers Crayon figures quite a bit. Now that LEGO's been doing a few sets for the theme, it makes me really want an Optimus Prime minifigure in proper Lego. I hope they at least do some playscale Transformers someday. And Hasbro's history with Lego or building block properties is really, really interesting to me, because they tried really hard with Kre-O and it didn't really work out for them. And then they started licensing to Lego, which I think was a great idea in general, and I hope they actually do more D&D stuff soon. But they also had these really weird, super cheap fake Lego made for G.I. Joe, which I can't imagine did well. The most interesting part about them is they were properly licensed, and Hasbro actually made them, but they feel so cheap, like Block Tech or something. And that was just a really fascinating line. And now G.I. Joe has actually gone to Mega Bloks, which is really interesting because Mattel is their competitor. Anyway, I just really enjoy this weird, obscure stuff. I apologize if you subscribed for Lego D&D stuff or just Lego in general, and now I'm talking about this weird Kre-O brand. Anyway, if you do like the D&D stuff or other Lego content, please stay tuned. The channel slowed down a little bit, but I'm working harder now to put out more Lego videos over the next couple weeks and months, so please subscribe if you like any of my other videos, because I'm going to have some of each popping up in the next month or so. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.